All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's November 25th, a regular council meeting. Our first order of business will be a moment of reflection before we get into the approval of the agendas. So we'll start with a moment of reflection now. All right. Approve the agendas. We have two. We have a consent agenda. Anyone wishing to make a motion on the consent agenda or wishing to pull something from the consent agenda? There's a little bit of minutes, a little bit of payables, and some correspondence. Any motion on the consent agenda? Councillor Monteith makes a motion to approve. If there's no discussion, call to question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And our regular meeting agenda, I believe there will be one additional in-camera legal item. So there'll be 3 in-camera items. And otherwise, a motion to approve as modified. Councillor Wolstenholme makes that motion. Call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the good of council, does anyone have something they wish to share with the whole council? It's been a cold last week, so we're getting into winter. A bunch of new activities, I'm sure. Everyone's looking forward to the weekend. It should be a full one, although it looks a little cold, but hopefully we can get through that. So we'll invite everyone over to the supper on Friday night. I believe that starts around 5 or 5:30. So we'll look forward to serving residents there up to a certain amount of plates that we have. And any other comments? Councillor Henniger?
I can't remember if I mentioned it, but just thank you to our public works and town staff that have put up all those lights all down Main Street. If you've gone and seen all the snowflakes, they look great. So thank you so much.
I was going to thank our CMP detachment for the open house they hosted last week. I know it was poorly attended. In some ways, that's a good thing. In some ways, it's not a good thing. But definitely encourage the residents, if there's anyone interested or have feedback or comments on the service the RCMP is providing to our community. Those opportunities are critical to attend. And if you missed it by chance and would like to reach out, then we'd encourage anyone to reach out to a council member or town staff, and they can direct any feedback as well to the RCMP. If there is no other comments, then we will move on then to delegations for tonight, of which we have our Sergeant and Local Commander Christian Lafleur here to be able to share the quarterly report, and we look forward to hearing some of those details. So, Sergeant, the floor is yours.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Would you like me to read the letters verbatim or just cold notes? Okay, so this report is from July 1st to September 30th, as far as what happened in the RCMP detachment as well as in town. The second paragraph is in regards to the body-worn camera. I'm pleased to inform you that the timetable for Fort Macleod is drastically been advanced. So what you'll see in front of my vest, for example, is what we're all going to be equipped this week. So instead of a 12 to 18 months wait for the officers in Fort Macleod to be equipped with body-worn cameras, by the end of the week, every officer in Fort Macleod will be equipped with one. I've put in a release to that effect last week, just to prepare people, and in the Gazette this week, it'll also be another information piece saying that as of this week, we're all going to be equipped with it.
So is it on right now?
No. So the same thing
How's
as
it
any equipment, green means ready, red means recording.
Okay, so it's very visible.
Should I turn it on? Just
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you guys planning
absolutely.
something?
Let's see it. Oh, it's not working.
And then there's a delay, but yeah,
Okay, you got a light.
I can't see it, so.
Yeah. Interesting.
So with that, obviously, we're all excited to get it because it's going to be helping us as well as helping the public should we have missteps, so to speak. The first course is tomorrow. I was lucky. I ended up, all the detachment commanders in the area had to go to Edmonton to get trained because with a higher level, for us to view the footage of everybody's camera, we had to go take a special course. Tomorrow is the members of the detachment, Claresholm and Picani, that are coming in to get trained, and the training will take place all week. After 2 days, they're going to move to Claresholm and so on and so forth. So between myself and the detachment commanders in Picani and Claresholm, we made a strong point saying that we need the cameras ahead of everybody else. They listened, and here we are. So we're pretty happy with it. There's going to be in 2025, there's going to be a public consultation tool. The details are a little bit fuzzy right now. I'm still waiting for more details so I can brief you, hopefully, in the next quarterly meeting. And again, I'm always available to discuss any concerns or improvement that the council or any residents would like to discuss with either myself or any of my members.
So this consultation tool, it's online? Anyone can
It'll be
go
online,
and-
yes.
So any concerns that they have?
They can voice it there as well, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's, again, and the idea of that is for us to be more open and more transparent. That the perception is right now, so moving forward. Any questions? In the community priorities, the first priority, of course, is crime reductions. So as I discussed in the town hall meeting, when it comes to offender management, we're depending on the courts to release people with conditions that we can actually enforce. Typically, that would be curfew conditions, that would be abstain from drugs and alcohol, not to associate with people. In the last quarter, we had 2 people that were with enforceable conditions. One was supposed to report to us, never did, never lived in the town, so we couldn't really enforce anything on that person except breaching him for not following through with what they agreed to. And the other one, well, he's back in custody, so I'm just going to leave it at that. The warrant roundup was, we organized one official warrant roundup, mixed success. We found that a lot of the people that are on warrants do not actually live in the Fort Macleod area. So because we're in between 2 highways, a lot of them are transient. So they come to town, they do bad things, we arrest them. They don't show up for court, for example. It goes on warrant, but in a lot of cases, they either live in other municipalities like Calgary or something far out. We can ask Calgary police for, and I keep saying Calgary because it's probably an easier example, to go and arrest them, but we're at their mercy if they're willing to do it or not. So Lethbridge, usually pretty good. What we end up doing though is, aside from the official roundup, I organize a few unofficial roundups. Basically, there's 3 of us working today. What do you guys have on the go? Nothing. Let's go knock on some doors. We've had success. For example, we just arrested this weekend one of the prolific offenders that was involved in a lot of criminality around town. So we were able to arrest that person and the person they were with. The person they were with got remanded in custody, the other person, well, the courts released them, so that's out of our hands. The tip of the week continues to target what we see as emerging crime trends. Lately, it's been a lot of, and in the last quarter as well, it's been a lot of online scams. The Bitcoin, the gift cards, and unfortunately, a lot of the romance scams. We've had a few cases as well of sextortions, where people, for whatever reason, decide it's a good idea to show themselves naked online, and they get blackmail or they try to get money out of the victims. So I continue to try to target education towards that, but it's unfortunately, a lot of people that are falling victim to those scams are not very internet savvy, so the message is not really going around, or very lonely people, and they think that this amazing movie stars from Hollywood is actually broke and needs their help in some cases. So it's hard to convince them. Even their families cannot convince them. So sad. Overall, though, the detachment is set to meet all the goals that we've set for the year and surpass them by year's end. Priority number 2, which is traffic safety, motor vehicles, the road, speeders. In the last quarter, we wrote a total of, my members alone, wrote a number of 74 tickets, 10 warnings, 1 defect notice. We had 3 traffic enforcement targeted overtime, which yielded on their own 53 tickets and 13 warning notices. What's not in there, because it goes under, a lot of the impaired driving now goes under provincial sanctions. They were successful in taking impaired drivers off the road, same as we were, but when they're targeting and it's in the evening, they're more successful. Of course, of those overtime shifts, the money's coming back to the town, and I've set quotas for them saying, well, if you're gonna cost me this much money in overtime, I expect you to write this many tickets or this amount of money to pay for your overtime. So it's been very successful. So the tickets generated as part of the overtime shifts, I do not count them as part of the detachment numbers. I'm only holding my members accountable, if that makes sense. For me, it's a way of making sure that they're going out and they're doing what they're supposed to, which is what the residents and the councils indicated of me, that speeding, for example, or road behavior being an issue we need to address. We did 1 official check stop. Official, although we conducted several spur of the moment ones. Again, there's so many people working tonight. You guys have nothing investigating right now. Let's go and do a check stop. That's been very successful. It's also part of my strategy to increase visibility. As I like to see, when people see the flashing Christmas lights, most people are happy. Well, not all though, but it increases and it shows that we're actually out there, and it's a big deterrent. So those ad hoc check stop, as well as the regular one, I try to make them in collaboration with the sheriffs and the other detachments. So. Again, we took drunk drivers off the road, impaired by drugs drivers off the road, and a lot of suspended drivers off the road. So that was pretty successful. We're also on our way to meet and exceed our targets for the year. So in the last quarter, there was no town hall. We just finished one, but it counts for this quarter. And the reason that I didn't do one each quarter is because it was too early to actually be able to judge the success of the measures that we have in place. or to identify the ones for next year. So we did, Don, I'll just pass, like as I mentioned, part of that will be for me now to look at the results of the targeted goals and see what we can improve and where else the targets will focus. Downtown foot patrols was extremely popular with the member, but of course, warm weather, who doesn't like to take a walk down Main Street? We're gonna have to be a little more, and by we I mean me and my corporal, forceful to make sure that, yeah, I know it's -20, but go take a walk. Go have a coffee or something, right? School presentations, it continues to be difficult in this past quarter. One of the reasons being is that I had a member that was off duty for an extended period of time. So that my focus is more the policing investigation. When I have enough people, we go and do lectures. Unfortunately, we're a little tight for that. And we found that one of the school in particular is not extremely receptive to having police officers go to the school for any reason. So we're working on trying to build a stronger relationship, but so far it's been difficult. And then we just go through the consultation unless you want me to read through them.
I think those get it much more into the details, right? Of things that you've been involved in. So I think we can, if anyone has any questions on those, we can go through some. Is there any highlights on any of the numbers and the stats? I think it all looks to be trending definitely in the right direction.
Yeah, those are very cyclical. That's the one thing with the numbers is it goes up and down every year, depending on who we're able to put in custody or not. And we have no controls over that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd have no job.
How far do your stats go back?
I mean, we can pull the numbers if I make a phone call to an analyst as far back as you'd like to go.
Okay.
But
Okay.
typically we go 3-4 years to give us an idea.
Be neat in some ways to chart some of this with population, with any other statistics as well, just to see if there's any correlation. But
And probably, like you mean population increase?
yeah, because yeah, the percentage might go up, but the population has gone up too, for example, or
Yeah.
traffic counts or whatever.
Yep. And it has a direct impact on that as
Yeah,
well. The
for
more
sure.
people, I mean, statistically, the more people you have, I hate to say it, but you have better chance of having more criminals, which is sad.
Yeah, well, it's as yeah. Any other questions from council? No other comments regarding even the open house? Sounds like your detachment's full currently.
It is full currently, and all the members are on full duty right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the first time in a while, right?
It's been a while.
A few years.
At least
so, right?
3, yeah, at least 3 years.
Well, congrats on that.
Thank you. Hopefully it is.
Does it
gonna
feel
stay.
good?
It actually helps, and as I mentioned during the total meeting, we're increasing our stats, which is our call for service, in the hope that eventually we can get more members. Because by the numbers that we're seeing, we should get at least an additional 2 members to match the calls
Yeah.
for volume.
So even with your detachment full, I think your staff probably feel better as well.
It does, yeah.
That there's not as much overtime or extra.
It's the workload is shared a little better versus one person getting all the files because they're the only one working, right?
Right.
It does still happen, but it's a little more rare.
Okay. That's good news. Yeah, any other comments? Anthony, do you have any questions?
I was just curious to know, Sergeant LaFleur, would you like us as the community to help try to encourage the schools to be a little more receptive? we just being in the community, maybe that could help. Because we'd like, I mean, I think the idea of having RCMP at the schools, it should become normal. Like kids shouldn't get nervous when they see a police officer. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything, if you'd like us to play a role in that. I mean,
I could use all the help I can get, but for sure, I'm not sure if the one school in particular would be receptive. Because all the other schools, every time we say, can we come over, they're more than welcoming, very enthusiastic, and they want to see the lectures and that we'd like to provide. The one school, like I said, it's a little different. So I'm gonna see if I can meet with him again in the coming few weeks and maybe try to make headways again, but my understanding is that it's probably not gonna be changing much.
Have you ever visited with the school superintendent?
No, Joe.
So that might be a good avenue too, right? Is to make sure that staying a little bit consistent among the schools within the Livingston range as well.
The feedback that I get from the school and from my members that are trying to attend is that the thinking is seeing uniformed police officers triggering because some of the kids, their parents are getting arrested or involved in things that maybe they didn't have positive interaction with the police, i.e. they're getting arrested. It's unfortunate because I've seen that when we build a good relationship with the children, they come to us for help versus they don't want to talk to us because, they're scared of us. They don't know us. We're not human.
Yeah. Well, if Anthony can help out in any way, then definitely be in touch.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions from council, we want to thank you for coming again tonight. I know it's once a quarter and we appreciate it. So carry on your our best regards to your team.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, moving on, then in our new business, we have bylaw 2000, and this is a big deal. And we're going to invite our planner, Gavin Scott, to introduce the new land use bylaw that has been in the works for a few years now. So look forward to discussing this with him. He's looking for first reading and advertisement for public hearing, but we'll look forward to Gavin introducing this bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening is, as you've stated, consideration of first reading of bylaw 2000, which would be a new land use bylaw. The changes in the bylaw are extensive, and they include, I don't think I'll read the whole list, but I'll give you a flavor of the changes. Full review of the content of the document, including definitions, seeking definitions to their districts, ensuring that the redundant definitions are removed, that missing definitions are added, and from there, making sure that each district and its uses are correctly laid out as far as the permitted and discretionary uses and where they lie. From there, we went on and investigated adding additional sections to the bylaw. And those sections certainly vary from shipping containers, residential sales centers, campgrounds, data mining operations, sandblasting, short-term rentals, setbacks from steep slopes, and dwelling groups and electronic signs. Amongst all the changes, there is also changes to the map, and the land use bylaw map is part of the bylaw. And within the map, there are some simple changes as far as colors, but there is also additional changes regarding the additional zones. There's 2 new zones being added to the district. One is in the agricultural district, splitting that district into 2. And that process really falls in line with your municipal development plan, which requires some attention to how those future land uses are going to play out. The other change was splitting the multi-unit residential into 2 districts based on density. So the first multi-unit 1 up to 4 units, and anything above that is a multi-unit 2. Additionally, to the map, you'll find that there are a number of highlighted parcels that through discussion will be changing their zoning. Now, some by necessity, the aforementioned agricultural district being split into two, all of those current agricultural zone parcels will have to be split between the two districts. There are approximately 10, I believe, town properties that are proposed for redesignation and mainly to public. There is an Altalink parcel, which is the main feeder line for the power that goes up past McLeod Landing. That is being designated to public. There's several other little errors on the map as regarding public property that were being corrected, as well as there's one property that is running a gravel pit, and it was council's desire to move that district to direct control. And that is indicated on the map. Now, for the map changes, all of those changes will be not only advertised and the information is on the website, but letters were sent before the strike to all landowners. So they should have received those letters before any impact was generated by the strike. So that gave them a heads up of what their current zoning was and what it is moving to. And that should give them an indication if they have concern, they can either call into the office and ask about those properties and what the changes are mean to them, or come out to the public hearing, which is scheduled to occur on December 9th at 7 p.m. The process thus far has had an open house, so there was some information gathered at that, which we will present at the public hearing. There's also the advertisement going into the Gazette, which is run on the 20th and the 27th, as well as the advertisement shown on social media and the town's website. All of this, I hope, garners some interest in the bylaw as it comes forward. But as for this evening, we are recommending first reading to move forward. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone prepared to make a motion on bylaw 2000? Did you get to pick the number 2000, or how did that just the way it lined up? That's good. Yeah, anyone prepared to make a motion for first reading on bylaw 2000 with the advertisement of a public hearing? Councillor Poitras makes a motion. We can have some discussion. Does anyone have any questions for administration on any of the content of the bylaw? Any concerns with the map? So at the public hearing, obviously people are coming that would be opposed. We've had an open house. People have had a chance to review it. So I think we're getting close, right? It's probably going into the fine details, perhaps, or maybe not even fine details. Just
Yeah, and it's, the kind of things that maybe we haven't introduced short-term rentals to the community before. That may be something that they'd like to dig in on the details. Understand maybe that there's a balance act being done between short-term rentals and affordable housing, that we want to make sure we don't hamper affordable housing by pushing too hard on the short terms. These are the types of things that do come up, and it's kind of answers that staff would provide to the public as they question the changes being brought forward. I think from the point of view of opposition to the bylaw, I think any changes further to this would have to be clearly stated as to what those changes are, how you're affected as a landowner, and why. Mainly, I try to get exact details on what you want changed and where, not just the general response that I don't like it. I think at the detail of a document like this, you need to know, well, what particularly do you not like, and try to dig down into the details on that. And like any planning document, this document is always open to further additional edits and amendments, and it is a cyclical process that it will continue well beyond my lifetime and others that take over my job, or so it goes on and on and on, and it is something that is attached to the times. It does certainly grow over time. I don't think you'll see a smaller bylaw. These are the types of things that happen um, as challenges come forward, I think, in land use and making sure that proper understanding of the land use bylaw is put forward. It does have an impact economically, and everybody wants to be assured they understand the rules.
One thing that I think would be helpful in the new sections, could we put a quick summary behind the advertisement so people get a rough idea of what it's about instead of just shipping containers? You know what I mean? Because even residential sales centers is like people be like, what the heck is that? But if we put a little brief thing is to make.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the advertisements have gone to the newspaper.
Okay.
Anybody from the public certainly can question staff as to what the content is. A full document is available for
Yeah.
people to view, and then also ask questions about. So I think they just need to click on the link. There's a link there for the full bylaw, and then read the section that they might be interested in. They'll get a good understanding of it. And then if they have questions, I think certainly turning to staff would be the better alternative then.
Yeah, and that's fine. So I think it would have been good even putting a section behind each of those so they could quickly, because it's a 300-page document, so some people might take a bit of time to find it once they get into it. So that's the only comment. On the map, I was curious about the gateway area, the gray line, mostly on the east side of town. Does it need to go all the way to the railroad track, or could we pull it back so it's more adjacent to the highway?
It is a curious question, given the current alignment. Given the current alignment, 1A has not moved that alignment. It's capturing that right now. Yeah, it can be moved. So certainly, as this is an amendable document, that's something that council could bring back and say they'd like to see it kicked over to the bypass. Now, the bypass itself is being depicted, even though it's not in place. So it does capture, I think, quite a bit of land that really the highway's not there yet, but we are looking to the future on this. And yeah, I think if that red area is near the tracks and you want to pull back, that would certainly be something that you could bring forward and see if council agrees.
Yeah, I just think that land's undevelopable until that stage 1A goes in at least, so we know that that existing highway coming into town will never be technically a commercial gateway on both sides of it. And then the lands on top of the golf course, would it make sense to make those agricultural residential transitional instead of leaving it as country residential, or does it matter?
Yeah, I think from the point of view of what was done to the map, we focused mainly on town properties and those that are being affected by the agricultural district change. When it comes to individual properties like that have already been zoned, they will go through a process, and there are a number of them where there are current projects that are being kicked about and may come forward, may not come forward. I believe they should individually come forward once they decide their development style. We're not even sure whether they want a mix of uses or they want one type of use. So I would hold off on any further changes to that kind of thing.
And then crown lands we can't touch, right? In terms of putting a designation to them.
Certainly from the point of view that if you were to look at the bypass, the gravel pit that's under it is being zoned agriculture. That is set. Any of the any of the provincially owned properties in town, they all have zoning. So
Except the white pieces, right?
the white pieces are considered road. So if you're looking at the
really?
southwest corner, that's considered road right now. It's not a title. So it seems like a big chunk of land there, but Alberta Transportation took that when they were supposed to be a different bypass.
Oh, interesting. So they've designated that whole white area as highway. I've always been curious because even at the end of the runway, there's a white piece of land.
Yeah, that piece of runway, that is the old bypass area. Now, the portion that's on the 1A, that also is all roadway and designated to the province. So
Interesting.
no zoning on roads, I guess that's the other way to say this.
Until the province relinquishes control or whatever.
Yeah, because until it becomes real property, they may turn that into a title and it'll be up for sale at some point.
Any other comments or questions? So if we're getting questions right now on the bylaw, we encourage residents to get into the bylaw, find a designated area. If they have questions, give Kelly or Wally or Anthony a call. Like none of those specific standard areas, I think, have anyone reason to be concerned, right? So that's if someone looks at it right now, they could read into a lot what could be a concern, but then they just have to dig into it. CEO Burdette?
We've had some residents, and they've done a really good job at it too, who have gotten into the bylaw. They've had their questions, they've called in, spoken with Kelly or myself, and yeah, it's so far it's been a really good process, specifically on the areas of like the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs, VRBOs. Some people had some concerns in that area, and then as far as like the suites, like a garden suite or a garage suite, there was some questions in that area as well. But the instances that I've had, the residents have been really good. They've been really informed, actually reading into the bylaw, doing their homework, and then we could have a good discussion on it. And I've encouraged them all to like submit their feedback and come speak to the public hearing on the 9th. So should be good.
Yeah, recalling our conversations, I think for the most part, it's relaxing some of our restrictions rather than making them more strict. But we encourage anyone that has concerns on bylaw 2000 or questions that they do dig into it, give a council member or staff a call, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Is there any other comments for or against the motion on bylaw 2000? This is our first reading. Motion's on the floor. If there is no other comments or questions, we'll call it the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried for first reading of bylaw 2000 and a public hearing on December, what was the date? December 9th. Very good. Thank you very much, Kevin. Moving on to in camera, we only had one new business item tonight, so we will ask for motion now to go in camera for 3 items: 1 personnel, 1 land, 1 legal. Who would be prepared to make the motion? Councillor Fox makes a motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.